When Blade and Sorcery's final update launched, every content creator got one type of comment. When's Blade and Sorcery going to come to Nomad? It's on Nomad. They released this on Nomad at the same time, so it's new Nomad news. And I upgrade to a Quest 3 if I can't even play this on Nomad. Is this Nomad? So on and so forth. And surprise, surprise, guys, I'm not the dev. I don't know anything, okay? Needless to say, I tend not to give the answer if the answer is not what you want to hear, so the day finally came where I can actually give you a good answer. Nomad is out, standalone version of Blade and Sorcery is out right now. Now, as you might be able to tell, this gameplay is not filmed on Nomad. The reason being, it's actually pretty hard to actually film things on standalone. It's not as easy as you might think, so I've opted for just using the standard version of Blade and Sorcery on PC. So with all that being said, what I deeply want to do for all of our brothers and sisters finally jumping into one of the coolest experiences in all of VR. I'm not even talking about Blade and Sorcery, I'm talking about Crystal Hunt, baby. An absolutely fantastic dungeon run that will make your mind fill with all the possibilities of a actual RPG that's in VR that maybe possibly we'll get in the future. Who knows, huh? Blade and Sorcery devs are working on something. So what I wanted to do for our brothers and sisters over on Standalone/Nomadland, I wanted to tell you every single thing I wish I would have known when my Crystal Hunt finally begun. First thing I wish I would have known is how absolutely fantastic gravity magic is. Frankly, it's your gateway into speedrunning, flying through levels while skipping most of everything. Granted, that is if you have a decent enough casting time. Essentially, you can choose from different starts of the game. You can choose to have a proclivity with magic, body, or telekinesis and slow-mo and all that kind of stuff. Don't worry, if you happen to have a low casting speed, you're fine. You don't need to depend solely on gravity magic. In fact, there's another skill that is probably better in the long term if you're able to manage its weird finickiness. But for right now, let's stay with gravity magic. So you're going to want to focus on these two upgrades. One is kind of like a glide, which will save you so much time in certain dungeons where there's just a giant descent area, which is literally going to slow you down to like a turtle speed, unless you can just glide down super easily. There is kind of a way to break momentum right before you fall by doing a kick, which we'll get into later, but yeah, that's a little bit harder to pull off, but I digress. The other perk is just going to allow you to basically do a bunny hop. Now, this is good, although I feel like it's been nerfed within the last couple patches. It just doesn't feel like I can spam it as much as I rapidly could, but it's still very, very good in combination with both of those. It will allow you to basically glide and fly. Granted, there is clearly a cap, so you can't permanently get height. There is almost a point where the game starts saying, no, you gotta go down, you gotta go down. But you can still get to damn near any place you want, given you can kind of manage these subliminal rules of how to manipulate it the most. But if you're really low on crystals, I would save heavy investment into the gravity skill tree, and instead try to push into body. The reason why is because of this one skill right here. And it comes available pretty soon. I believe it's in the second body tier. And the third body tier is also infinitely OP, so you probably want to get that too. But I digress. What this skill allows you to do is jump into the air with your joystick and then hit your other joystick, and that will activate a kick. Mind you, you do have to reach a certain level of height, so just hold down the jump and you'll get as much height as possible, and then try to tip your head a little bit up so that you're not going to be darting around. The reason why this skill is so damn good is because not only does it help you like nuke anybody's, allowing you to put any enemy on their ass, but it also allows you to actually dodge. So when you're fighting the golem and he does any sort of massive attack like hucking a boulder at you or even laser beaming you, all you have to do is jump, look any direction you want, and your character will massively dart in that direction, kind of like a dodge. Not to mention, the thing that you're probably going to be spamming this for is eventually you're going to get to a point where you want a lot of money. So you're going to want to do this speedrunning skipping tactic. Actually, I haven't seen too many people explain this, but essentially in Blade and Sorcery, you can kind of keep your momentum. So the idea here is you're going to jump, you're going to tilt your head a little bit up, then you're going to activate the kick, which is going to push you forward a little bit. And then just as your feet touch the ground, you're going to hit the jump button at the right time, and then you're going to keep a little bit of your momentum going forward, and then you're going to kick again, and you're going to keep a little bit of that momentum every single time you skip, allowing you to really propel yourself faster and faster. And honestly, after doing a test with the gravity pulse or push, you massively beat it so long as you're able to just keep making that connection happen. If you kind of fuck up and don't hit the button at the right time, then you're going to kind of mess up your momentum, but even still, it's just like a little hiccup up and you're still moving way faster than you would otherwise. So needless to say, I think this is honestly the best skill in the entire game, and heaven help us if they patch it. One final thing with this that's really cool is because your feet are barely ever on the ground, you are basically like making no noise, and it's just really easy to sneak up on people and sneak past people. The reason why that's important is because when you're finishing a dungeon run, sometimes they'll close the gate on you and you'll have to like basically fight a ton of enemies, and it will slow down your ability to kind of like complete the level, grab the money, and then leave. But with this method, you're able to kind of skip past everything and not like alert anybody to activate them triggering like the alarms, because you're basically, your feet are never touching the ground, never making noise. You're just like kind of slingshotting yourself across the thing. Very speedrunner weirdness, but it totally works and it's a lot of fun. But yeah, so the flying air kick is absolutely fantastic and in a lot of ways beats out Gravity's speedrunning capacity. And it also applies to everyone despite your masting cast speed. But Gravity magic, especially the third tier, should not be slept on. Specifically this skill right here. This is what makes everything in the game a cakewalk. Honestly, getting any skill to tier 3 makes it absurdly powerful. So yeah. But if you can activate the slow time, this basically makes the Golem fight a joke. You can just cast, pop a bubble near him, and then you have all the time in the world to crack those shards completely safe. Especially when you start getting higher and higher into more and more tiers, the Golem gets more and more ruthless and more violent, and if you try to grab him, he'll immediately put electricity all over his body, and it becomes a little more funky. So the ability just to pause time, essentially, and do what you need to do and get the hell out is extremely powerful. And it's probably why a lot of people collectively agree that the Gravity skill tree is a wee bit OP. Also, when it comes to just like a wave-based survival missions that exist, you can just cast a giant bubble, let them come into the bubble, and kill them when they enter, and you're good as good. And because we're already here talking about OP skills that are worth their weight in gold, let's talk about fire. So one of the biggest issues you're going to face when playing Blade and Sorcery eventually is armor. Armor is the thing that's going to immediately kneecap you as far as the badass sword play you're going to be doing, because your sword's just not going to be able to dent that armor. But there are various solutions, and these are the best ones that I was able to find. They're both satisfying and cheeky, and one is downright manipulating the game a little bit. Anyways, but what you're going to want to do is push into Fire Tier 2. What this is going to allow you to do is basically summon a fire orb in your hands and basically throw like a fire dust or fire ashes in someone's face. Do this enough times, and even if the person's wearing armor, they're going to set ablaze and basically be dead, kicking and screaming all the demented while. Yeah, I digress. And because you're already into Tier 2, you might as well push into Tier 3 because you unlock one of the most hidden and OP things in this entire game, and honestly makes combat downright, like, nothing honestly. like absolutely nothing. You can also use this in Gravity, but frankly, this is the best weapon in the game, and it's not even close. Now, speaking of how OP the staffs are, again, like I mentioned, if you push into any of the capstones for elements, you unlock their overpowered as hell effect. So, what this is for electricity is a nano wire that basically decapitates anyone, armor and all. Same thing with fire. Fire is easily the best, it's just the most consistent, and it's crazy AoE, and it doesn't like burn out the weapon's elemental energy that you've stored into it. It's just crazy across the board. Gravity is just a ton of fun, but it's a little bit inconsistent, all that, yada yada yada. But this isn't exactly the most helpful advice because this comes available at endgame when you eventually have like pushed into an elemental skill tree very far. So what do we do before that, you're probably thinking? Well, I'm glad you asked, because these are the standout weapons that will absolutely carry you, not only as far as them being fun, but also extraordinarily effective. So, one of the best weapons you get early on from some of your like shitty tier weapon tier stuff is this axe. Two-handed axe, great range, lets you just fire it up really fast, and you can just, all you need to do is sink it up in the head or the neck, and if you happen to miss, it's okay because you're bearing down with a giant axe head. It's just gonna knock them down on their ass, which then you can just clean them up after that, right? Totally fantastic weapon. The second weapon that unlocks around tier 2 is the spear, and you guys have heard me talk about how much I love those, as well as how good they are. But the problem is when you get to tier 2 is when you're starting to get introduced to a ton of armor. And you're going to be looking for a solution on how to deal with armor, especially if you're interested in doing actual like melee combat, not dabbling too much with magic, because it's a little bit cheaty, easy breezy kind of stuff, right? Well, let me introduce you to the most overpowered weapon in the entire game, outside of staffs, which require a monstrous amount of investment. This is the one weapon that you can just use, and it is going to absolutely eviscerate 90% of things all because of probably some broken code. Please, devs, don't fuck this up. don't patch this. This is a speedrun. It's one win for the speedrun. People, leave me, please. This is a beautiful axe that comes available as soon as you start dipping it into tier 2, which is where you're going to start to face a lot of armor. Now, funny thing is, the axe head is just a normal bog standard axe head, but the diamond tip on this, for some reason, just decides to clip through armor and go right into whatever you happen to hit. And this game is amazing in the sense, getting a headshot is almost always a kill. And we have a weapon that bypasses armor, aka the helmet, allowing you to basically nuke anybody in any armor so long as you're able to get this tip into their head, which is actually extremely easy. Not only that, but this thing is actually fantastic for shattering the crystal skull things. It actually feels pretty intuitive because sometimes you need a little bit of reach and other times you don't. So you can always just hit the trigger, you'll slide up on the axe head, and you'll be able to knock things closer combat, all those kinds of things. Now, you might be getting really excited and being like, oh, but GRINN, eventually I'm going to get to tier 3 and the axe is going to look extra pretty and it's going to definitely cut through armor, right? Because I'm spending like 10 times more, right? No, that one sucks, actually. In fact, a lot of the tier 3 ones, which you would assume, like, oh, I'm going to pay for this. This is tier 3. There's a lot more armor. I bet that, like, the axe point on the other side or the spear tip, all that's going to be able to punch through armor, right, GRINN? Because it's tier 3, and they're going to give me this thing at tier 3. Surely it's the solution to the tier 3 armor, and I'll just have to suffer a little bit, and then I'll be able to get through it. Yeah? No, actually, all of them are terrible against armor. In fact, most of them are dog shit in general. Yeah. Weird. I'm happy this axe exists because it's kind of a cheat sheet. Love that. Please don't patch it, devs. God damn it. Now, there is one more massive point of leverage when it comes to Blade and Sorcery that I wish I would have known. And it was the one that we had access to for the longest time, so it was the one I invested the least into. And oh boy, was that an absolute mistake. Telekinesis, or the mind skill tree, is so fucking good. Not only does it help slow time for arrows, like slingshotting past you, or fireballs, so they're easier to dodge, but also it has every kind of thing like that, like being able to pick up an enemy and throw them into another enemy, or grab their weapon and turn it into a spinning Beyblade disc, hard to say, is immensely overpowered, and I did it once and I realized how crazy it is. So if you're ever struggling, just do the spinny blade thing. Hey, even do it with the axe, and I bet it's even more crazy. Coupling gravity with the intrinsic slow-mo means you have all the time in the world to crack those crystals on the golem and just completely eviscerate him time and time again. One of the reasons Blade and Sorcery is considered a must-buy VR game is because of how badass the mods end up being. And as long as the modding community doesn't lose steam, the future should be very bright for Blade and Sorcery Nomad specifically. I kind of alluded to this in the beginning, but one of the things that's amazing about Blade and Sorcery not being updated again, as much as it's also kind of sad, it's nice because modders don't have to worry about updating their mod for the next massive patch that's going to be released. So hopefully mods are able just to kind of stack on top of each other again and again and again, and there's a higher likelihood of modders wanting to actually update their mod or bring it to Nomad because they're not going to have to do it again, hopefully. Alas, I'm off to go stream for a whole ass month. If you guys don't know, we are streaming for the entire month of November. Heaven help me. Every single day except for Sunday, because that's the day I'll be trying to make a video for the My Palace Magic channel. Yeah, so you wish me luck, and I hope you can pop into the streams and say hi. As well as if there doesn't happen to be a video that day, I hope you can give me some grace. I'm still making content of some kind. Just know that I'm still creating my ass off and all that, and I hope to bring you something fun later down the line, my friends. Once again, thank you for your time and patience, and a big thank you to our members, as well as the people that may pop into our streams to keep little old me company. Thanks again. Sincerely, my name is GRINN. I hope I can see you again, and love you.